Good afternoon. It's Thursday. Welcome to Valley Vision. I'm Abby Alonso, Joe Mitchell. What's up? How are we doing today? I feel like the vibes are high.
Yeah, I'm got great vibes. We got a bye week. That a little unfortunate, but
A little unfortunate. No, I think it's coming at a good time. We'll get into why in a little bit.
100% coming at the right time.
A little injury bug decided to bite LSU football right before the Bama game, which is less than ideal. But hold on, before we get into all that, women's basketball starts tonight. First exhibition game of the season against East Texas Baptist in the PMAC. I know everybody's so excited to see this team run it back, hopefully. They'll have another exhibition game next Thursday against Loyola, and then the real stuff starts in Vegas on November 6th. They'll play Colorado in the Hall of Fame series. That'll be televised on TNT. Huge move for female athletics in college, for LSU in general. Super pumped. And then they'll have their first home game November 9th against Queens, and that is where they will have their ring ceremony, and they'll drop the banner in the PMAC. I think that starts at 6:30 on November 9th. So if you want to see the girls get their rings, be there for when they drop the banner and host their first home game. That will be November 9th at 6:30. But tonight, you can head to the PMAC and see what the team looks like. Again, lots of transfers coming in, lots of new talent, lots of talent coming back, bigger and better, ready to go. I'm pumped. I'm so excited to watch this team just completely go off this year. I think it's inevitable. And I don't think it's out of the question for them to run it back, for real, at all. Soccer has their senior game tonight. They will finish the regular season. They are 3-5-1 in the SEC. They'll play, or they just played Auburn. Hopefully they can finish out with another win. Make sure to go support those girls. Again, senior game, last time playing for the Tigers at home. Could definitely use the support. Volleyball will play in the PMAC tomorrow at 8 against Kentucky, and again on Sunday against South Carolina at 1. They are 3-5 in the SEC. Make sure to pack the PMAC, just like you're going to do tonight for basketball. Go support soccer and volleyball. Okay, so I mentioned it. We're going to talk about it. We don't have a preview this week, obviously, because there's no LSU football game, but there is some... is concerning the right word? I think concerning might be the right word here for the LSU defense. We already know they aren't in the best place. They've gotten better throughout the season. We're definitely seeing the progress, but they may have just run into yet another problem. Why? Well, Zy Alexander went out against Army on the last play of the first half with a left leg injury. Mekhi Wingo didn't even play last week because he's been having a nagging lower leg injury. Word on the street is he's been in a boot. Brian Kelly said in the presser that both of them will be out for some time. Now, that leaves room for, what's the word I'm looking for? Use your imagination there. There's no timeline.
Yeah.
He just said some time. So does that mean they'll be back for Bama? It doesn't sound like it, which poses a problem for the defense. Now, you've already been without, Duce, Chestnut, Denver Harris. Harris played, when's the last time he played? Against Auburn, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe? Chestnut's been out for a couple weeks. Now you're going to lose Zy Alexander and Mekhi Wingo. And weeks ago, Kelly said that they were going to hold Mekhi out for this injury to hopefully have him back for Bama. They held him out of Army. They were going to give him the bye week. He would have 2.5, 3 weeks to rest, recover, get back on the right side of things, and he'd be back for Bama. But when you hear the head coach say, hey, he's going to be out for some time, that doesn't tell me that, hey, yeah, he's going to be back for when we need him. That doesn't sound like that. So, yeah, I think it is a little concerning. It's kind of disheartening. You're seeing the defense come a long way, and they're starting to make the progress, and you think they might have a chance to go up against a Bama team where they could make a statement, and then you hear this. So I guess a little bit of good news. Ashton Stamps should be good to go for that game, but I think you're going to start calling on some of the younger guys. And you know a little bit more about the younger guys on the defense than I do. If Zai's out, if Mekhi's out, Duce and Denver are not going to be back. They're inactive with the team right now, practicing but not playing. So, or they're not practicing or playing. But what could this look like? Like who's going to be on the field here?
Well, you'll have Sage Ryan in there.
Yeah.
Who has gotten significantly better as the season had gone along. He's gotten really great at tackling. He's one of the best open field tacklers on the defense.
Which is progress, because I remember weeks ago being like, yo, dude, we got to figure something out. So, yes, the progress is there. Sage Ryan, who else?
So I think you're looking at honestly, I don't know why LaTerrence Welch hadn't gotten as much playing time as he has. But he'll be available. Ashton Stamps, Javian Toviano. And Toviano is listed as a safety right now, but he was just a defensive back coming out of high school, so he's capable of playing the cornerback position. And then at defensive tackle, kind of like fitting in for Wingo, you could go Jalen Lee, you can go Jordan Jefferson. You have options, but yeah, it's really rough losing not only your starters in the secondary, but you're 4 deep. Now you're down. And then at defensive tackle, Mekhi Wingo was an All-American last year, so can we fit guys in and feel okay? Yeah, but rough losses.
Yeah, and again, they are absolutely not going to play against Alabama. But I think if Kelly intended for them to play or thought that they would be back, he would have said something a little bit more hopeful rather than they'll be out for some time. That just doesn't sound promising.
Yeah, they're going to have to – the defense is going to have to lean heavy on the linebacker room, which is turning out to be one of the best in the SEC.
Speaking of, that's funny that you bring that up. So one of the notes that we had spoken about earlier, Harold Perkins, and you mentioned he had a great year last year, and this year he's been a little bit more quiet. Not bad at all, just less hype, right, compared to what he was last season. But we ran across an interesting statistic. He actually leads the SEC with an 85.1 cover grade. And what was your point you made before we went live?
Yeah, I mean, so in week 1, we saw him drop back into coverage. I don't remember the exact number of times, but the biggest complaint amongst fans and people who cover LSU was that why is the best pass rusher in college football dropping into coverage? He just happens to be the best coverage linebacker in the SEC as well. So this dude is elite.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to his ability to do both. He had last year where, he's well known as being a pass rusher and the guy who can crash into quarterbacks and very aggressive and physical. But if he can do this too, the versatility is definitely a skill that is going to help him be on LSU football. Nice to have as well. But yes, the linebacker room, I'm very curious to see what the defense actually looks like going into next Saturday. And we will preview that game. We'll be back on Monday to recap other sports and then preview that game next Friday. But just something to kind of keep an eye on with these injuries, and hopefully we get more word from Brian Kelly about the actual status of some of these guys and whether it is realistic to have them back for Bama. Or if not for Bama, when are they coming back? Because there was also talk about Zai Alexander tearing an ACL. And I hope that's not the case and that hasn't come out. It's that's been just a few whispers. But we'll let y'all know when we do know. So time frames up in the air.
While we're on the topic of linebackers, losing Mekhi Wingo is huge. That's a really really rough loss. But having Omar Spates and Greg Penn both healthy, being that Harold Perkins was as much of a factor in that Alabama game last year, getting a sack, late in the fourth quarter and getting a stop on the 4th down towards the goal line. I wonder if that not having Mekhi Wingo makes them pivot and maybe let him play with his ears pinned a little bit. I don't know that to be the case, but it's definitely a thought I've considered.
I'm sure, and I'm sure they have as well. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of questions for them, and they are going to have to pivot. And I like that word because if they're without him, things change, and that's that. But it could be a good thing. We'll see. We'll get back to that next week. Put a pin in that conversation. We're going to round out with some Tiger tea. Excuse me. I don't know. I just coughed, kind of, but didn't. Anyway, LSU fans, you can now buy a piece of the women's basketball championship court from Dallas where they won. Artsman, which is a sports memorabilia company that actually turns pieces of basketball courts into like collector's items. They're launching like an LSU women's basketball memorabilia line, the championship line. They'll be made into, so pieces of the court will actually be made into necklaces, bottle openers, mini court replicas, desk pieces, plaques, all kinds of stuff. So if you want a piece of the actual Final Four court that the Tigers won on, you can buy that. And it's actually, this set that they're releasing is the second ever women's basketball collection that Artsman has produced, like ever. So that's really cool. It's, I mean, they sold pieces of the field, the Tiger Stadium field, in 2019, 2020? Excuse me. So that'll be really cool if you like to collect stuff like that. Want a piece of the court? Artsman is launching that on, I believe, next Wednesday. So check that out. We will not have a show tomorrow. We will be out of studio, getting into the community at a charity event. But we will be back on Monday to recap the weekend and start to prep for that big Bama game next weekend. We appreciate y'all, and we will see y'all soon.